All right, that's right. It is Monday. It is Meet Me at the Diner, and we have State Representative Gene Pinson with us here today. He's decided he has so much going on that he is going to not go back to the state Senate or to the state House of Representatives. Gene Pinson, I know you've given a lot of years of service, not only down there at the House of Representatives, but in so many other aspects of your life. How does it feel to be taking a step back to be able to do things maybe that you'd like to have the time to do?
Well, Ann, you know, as time progresses, your priorities change. And as you probably saw in the newsletter that was done to the Index, it's a good time. You know, when I was on the school board, I reached a point where I knew it was time to come off. When I was served on county council, the good Lord told me it was time to come off and serving in the House of Representatives again. The good Lord just tells you all these things, and your priorities change along the way.
Absolutely.
And I've had 3 great activities happen in my life recently, and the good Lord has blessed me with 3 new grandchildren, all born within a 2-month period. And that culminated with the district changing. That culminated with 10 years is a long time in South Carolina House of Representatives. I was looking at the photo of the 1992 House of Representatives last Thursday. There are only 4 members that I could recognize. And that has not been that long ago.
No, not really. I
don't know what the average state, and you're dealing with 2-year terms. You're always campaigning. You may have a 12-month period where you feel like, hey, I can actually do the work I'm elected to do. Other than that, you're out beating bushes and, you know, trying to satisfy all needs. But this community has been good to the Pinsons, and I just hope I've been able to return some of that, because this is a great place to live. We are the envy of most of the people in the state of South Carolina.
Absolutely. And when they had the Rural Summit here a couple of weeks ago, all the people I talked to, they had no idea of what we have right here in Greenwood. People came from all over.
Greenwood is one of the best kept secrets in the universe, not just in the state of South Carolina.
Right.
But I don't think I've ever met anyone that has moved from any other area to Greenwood that for some reason had to leave and just fell in love with this community. I said, I'll always miss my friends in Greenwood. I mean,
well, it's amazing how many people actually come back to Greenwood, and what a reputation we're getting as a great area for retirees.
Yes, we are. And we're blessed. We've got the resources here. I mean, we've got one of the finest hospitals in South Carolina. I can attest to that. All the specialties in the healthcare arena, and Landy University that works great with senior citizens and people that retire. Piedmont Tech does the same thing. I mean, we're just blessed. Wonderful school districts. It's just a great place to be.
It is.
And on a day like today, it's just, you see God's first hand at work.
Absolutely. I mean, the sun is shining. It is beautiful weather out there.
A little bit too much pollen, but, you know, we can deal with that.
Well, it's so early this year. It's unbelievable
I can't wait for August.
72 degrees out there right now. Oh. Beautiful. Supposed to get a high in the low 80s here today. So nothing could be finer than to be in Greenwood, South Carolina.
Amen, and I sure do appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And we also have a great religious community, and we have a little bit of everything. So there is just a lot to offer.
Absolutely.
And there's plenty of work for all these folks that are moving in here in the time to do.
Okay.
It's endless.
What do you mean? Are you talking about more volunteer type
work?
Listen,
more volunteer work.
Yeah.
In fact, I just got a email a few minutes ago coming in here that our executive director at Crossroads Pregnancy Center's mother passed away, and that got me all, you know, turned around and mixed up and this kind of thing. But I mean, those things happen, and there's just a lot to do here. And there's plenty of opportunity.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's the one thing I've always thought about Greenwood, is that if there's a need, if something needs to be done, the people here pull together and get her done.
You're exactly correct.
Absolutely. Now, of course, you work at Morningside.
Correct.
And
I'm the marketing director there. And
how's things going over there?
Things are booming, and the future is good for, again, in the healthcare, and we're in the assisted living business and nursing care. It seems to be doing well too, even though they have had some Medicaid drawbacks, and we don't know what the future is going to hold with the new healthcare system. I'm fortunate. I'm in a business that doesn't rely on any type of outside assistance for for people. It's a private pay facility.
Private pay. Well, you know, right now, actually, I think they just finished this morning. They had the first of the arguments in front of the Supreme Court on the health care mandate. So they had the first one today. Well, you know more about
that than I do. What was your opinion?
Well, I mean, I had State's Attorney Alan Wilson on last week. We talked about it.
Alan told me he was in town.
Yes. Well, we talked to him, and he said, I thought this was great. He said he is actually going to be in court at the Supreme Court, and he said that he felt like he had gotten the golden ticket to the Willy Wonka factory when it came to getting into the Supreme Court to be there. Because he said all his life he wondered how it would be to be able to practice. Well, he's not practicing, but he's going to be there.
But he's representing our great state.
Absolutely.
But they've been camped out for 2 or 3 days waiting to get a part of that history. I hope it's going to be good history.
Yeah, I hope so, too. What do you feel about the health care?
Well, health care, it's just something we've all got to have. We have, and a lot of people don't like to hear this, we've got socialized medicine now. Those that can't afford it are going to get it. Those that can afford it are going to pay for themselves as well as those that can't get it. So we've got that to a degree now. We don't want to worsen that. We've got the best system, I believe, in the free world. The problem with health care, as I believe in the last information that I have read, the United States is the only country that offers unlimited access to health care now.
And the future could be? And
the future could be bleak. I certainly hope to play it once I get 50 years old and it helps. I just don't put me out the street. Or let me back up. Well, I'm already 50. Once you get 50, once you get to be 50 years old, they just don't put you out the street.
They're going to put me on an ice barrier and put me out in the ocean.
They tell me they're digging new caverns out of the landfill, so I don't know whether that's for trash
or for what.
But it is. It's a great time to be living, and the future looks well. We've got good people coming out to Pike Road, get involved in government, and I feel good about it. What I'd like to say about the House of Representatives that a lot of people, and we were talking about this earlier. You asked the question. Don't let me answer.
That's okay. What do you think about the House of Representatives?
Well, the House of Representatives...
You'll be able to speak more freely now that you're leaving.
Well, I speak more freely. The House of Representatives is 2-year terms. We've tried to get that changed over the years to 4-year terms and allow the state Senate to go to 6. The Senate won't hear anything about it. Most people think you're a full-time legislature, and I guess in actuality you are. When you call my number in Columbia after session is over, you'll get a recording and say, call me at the House. When somebody on the street gives me a packet of information and says, Gene, give this to your staff, let them look it over and see what they think. Well, I'm the staff. You have no staff.
You mean you don't have a huge staff working for you?
We're allotted, the various committees have staffers, but an individual legislator shares a part-time secretary during the legislative year. So you've got one secretary operating for 4 legislators, trying to answer emails, trying to answer phone calls, trying to respond to correspondence. And it is tough.
And the legislature is in session from
January to the first week of June, unless called back.
Right. So, I mean, and if you have another job, which most people have to have some other job.
You have to, yes, you do.
That
I'll be
has
independently
to be hard.
wealthy, like you.
That's hard to do, isn't it, Gene?
It's extremely difficult.
How do you manage your job here and your job down there?
Well, I work Sunday afternoons. I work Saturdays during the legislative year. Otherwise, I'll normally work from Monday to Friday, sometimes a lot of Saturdays. Sometimes Saturdays in between, but it's difficult to do. You can plan on being gone 3 days a week, 20 weeks out of the year.
And yet it's a part-time job.
And yet it's a part-time legislature. And the Senate is the same way, but the difference between the Senate and the House of Representatives, they have a full-time staff member that is assigned to 2 senators that is there every day of the year.
So they have somebody fielding calls and getting the information.
You're exactly correct.
Yeah.
And that is a big plus.
That is a big plus. And
now, we redistricted this year. Now, the House District 13 went from about 34,000 people to about 38,000 people. So some districts expanded, some districts shrunk based on the 2010 census.
Absolutely. So
So there's a lot of people to deal with.
A lot of people, 4,000 more people to deal with. And of course, I think a lot more people are getting more interested in what's going on. So I'm sure the phones are ringing more than they used to when people didn't feel as concerned as about government. I think people feel a lot more concerned now.
Yes, they do. And, you know, everybody's an expert. You turn on Fox News or MSNBC, and you automatically become an expert. And the blogs are out there, and everybody's
24
hours a day. And I'll never forget my good friend Marion Carnell, who is not doing well. He's presently, bless his heart, we pray for him every day. He told me 10 years ago, I said, Marion, what has changed in your 42 years? And I can't imagine somebody serving
For 42
in
years?
the House of Representatives of South Carolina for 42 years. But I asked him what has changed, and this is 10 years ago. He said, this TV and internet stuff would drive you absolutely crazy.
Well, it does.
It does.
Absolutely.
And he says, you know, I used to go to West shows and somebody asked me a question. I'd say, yeah, this is what we did. Now, I pulled into West shows and they know more about it than I do. And I just voted on it. So
That's a problem, yeah.
So-
and the news sources, of course, are looking for news because they've got to report 24/7.
You're correct.
We used to have the 6 o'clock news and 7, 8 o'clock in the morning news, and that was your news.
Yeah, that's correct. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that we're being bombarded by. And there are people actually that are addicted to these news programs.
Sure.
I mean, they just thrive on it one right after another. And then you get, you know, this blog is representing this group, this blog's representing this group, this blog's representing
It's got to be hard as a representative to even try to keep up with the different factions that are out there.
Well, it's very difficult, and I remember what Governor Haley told me last year. We had a little function at the governor's mansion. I said, Nikki, how in the world can you take all this news and blogs and I don't want to call names of news.
Yes.
And she said, I don't pay any attention to it, Gene. I don't even look at it.
Well,
I can't. I have to keep my focus in one direction. I can't get sidetracked by all of this.
Well, it would be very difficult, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And of course, if you don't know something, you look bad. If you do know something, somebody else has already got a different opinion.
Well, just this year, Ann, we've had Lieutenant Governor
Kennard
resigned. I lost one of my freshman classmates that I came into the legislature with, named Thad Byers from Myrtle Beach.
Mm-hmm.
He resigned
Last week,
Thursday.
yeah.
Thursday. I was thinking either Wednesday or Thursday. I think it was Wednesday. He actually resigned and was indicted down in Myrtle Beach. It's tough. I mean, since I've been there, we've had the Thomas Ravenel thing, of course, the Governor Sanford thing.
What do you think about the ethics of your group down there, Gene?
Well, it's like any other group. You're dealing with a lot of folks, and you're going to have those that think they ought to act normal, and you've got those that are going to violate the law in some form or fashion. And it's just like any other group. I just hate it that most of them are my good friends that fall in these cracks.
Absolutely.
But and the other thing is, like our presidential race going on, you can't look for perfection in people. Because you're
Otherwise, you'll never make a decision.
You will never go anywhere.
Well, you know, we're not going to resurrect Ronald Reagan, and
No.
that seems who everybody thinks we should have back on here again.
Well, I hate to tell folks he's dead and gone.
I know, but everybody talks about Ronald Reagan, and yet there was only one Ronald Reagan.
Well, we didn't have all the media circus that we had in the Ronald Reagan times.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see how it would play out today.
And John Kennedy, I mean, going back and on and on and on. But we've got to move forward.
Absolutely. We're going to hear a word from our sponsors. We are here with Gene Pinson. If you would like to give a call, if you've got a question, give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. We'll be back. All right, we're back here. I tell you what, the conversation is fast and furious here today, Gene.
Thank you.
We are talking about some of the topics that are going on right now down there in Columbia. Does it give you a different perspective for you to be able to say, I'm not running again, I'm going to do the decisions, I'm out of here? Does it give you a different perspective?
No, because people of House District 13 elected me to a two-year full term.
Mm-hmm.
I've got colleagues in the House of Representatives that, in fact, one of them decided he wasn't going to run last year. We see him off and on.
Mm-hmm.
another one right up here.
You're saying that he lost his commitment, maybe?
He lost a little bit of his commitment. We've got one guy that represents the Easley area I haven't seen in 2 months.
Wow.
First term legislator. I don't want to mention these names, but one guy that announced he was going to resign after 1 term. I remember him from the Georgetown area. He said, "Gene, I had no idea this is what the House of Representatives is all about." And this guy just graduated from Pinson Graduate School. And he said, "I got to get out of here and go to work. I can't live on this and have everybody mad at me all the time."
Well, I guess that would be a pretty hard yeah.
And he says, "I'm going to get away from Georgetown if I get a
job."
So, it's different strokes for different folks. But, no, the people I have committed to this term of office, and these people have never let me down. I'm not going to let people.
I'm not saying let them down, but, you're not looking at another term. So does that make it, in some ways, easier to maybe stand your ground on what you believe for our area? Would it make it a little easier?
Well, I think it makes it a little easier, and a guy named Don Smith, who served up until 4 years ago, he retired, left the legislature. You don't retire, you just leave office. After 8 years, he said, "Gene, you'll know when it's time." And I kept thinking about that, and then Representative Paul Agnew over in Abbeville said he wasn't coming back. Representative Marion Fry from down in Saluda said he wasn't coming back. And, everybody reaches that decision somewhere along the line. Either the folks are not going, and we've had a lot of folks actually pass away in office. So you're either going to pass away, you're not going to run again, or the people are going to get rid of it. One or the other. I mean, those are the 3 options. And you do see things a little different. I have a real appreciation and admiration for anybody that is seeking public office, because you are put under one intense microscope, whether you want to be or not.
Absolutely.
There doesn't seem to be much hiding out there, and not that anybody want to do that, but it's a tough job, and I admire anybody that wants to serve, not just serving. Anybody that wants to serve, my heart goes out to them, and I pray for our elected officials every day. They have extremely tough ideas and recommendations and decisions that affect people's lives. In our case, 4.6 million lives are affected every time you vote on something.
Sure.
And there don't seem to be any easy issues.
No. And there's at least 2 sides to everything.
Always.
At least 2
There's
sides.
your side, my side, what the truth really is.
Yeah, there you go. So we're going to be talking about some of the issues here. We wanted to talk some more about the budget, the state retirement system that passed down there in the House. It's now gone to the Senate. Also, we want to talk a little bit about the economic situation of the state. So we're going to touch on all those issues, but coming up in just a minute is going to be South Carolina news. What do you think futuristically, as we look at how it is going to change? Do you think because we're going to have so many new people, just because people aren't coming back, that it will affect the effectiveness of the House of Representatives?
I don't think it will affect the effectiveness overall. My freshman class, there were 23 in it, went in 2003. We have 7 left out of those 23. So things change every year. The average stay of a member of the House of Representatives is somewhere in 7 to 8 years. That's average.
That's average? Oh, okay.
Yeah. You don't have the Mary Cornells and these kind of folks that go in there and seem to stay for forever and ever and ever. They just burn out.
Do they stay more in the Senate? Do they
Oh,
stay
yes.
longer in the
Oh,
Senate? Is
yes.
that the difference,
yes,
maybe?
Yes, they do. Yes, they stay. They some just seem to retire there.
Seem to retire.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just you know how long Senator John Drummond stayed in office. Mary Cornell stayed in office a long time.
Well, McConnell that just
Glenn
became
McConnell, yeah, he didn't want to be. Glenn's a good friend of mine.
Is
he prayed and anguished about that decision, but he had to do it by Constitution. He went from being the kingpin in the South Carolina Senate to the lieutenant governor, which is not, not the meaning of the lieutenant governor.
It doesn't have a lot of power.
Doesn't have a lot of power, but the interesting thing is he's going to raise the profile of the lieutenant governorship to a level he hadn't seen in years. And the governor knows that also.
Absolutely. Now, how long a term does the lieutenant governor serve?
4-year term.
4-year term.
Yeah, they come on the same time as the
governor.
Now, it could be 2 different parties, 2 different individuals. Now, we've tried to change that to where, and it used to be this way in South Carolina. You could run as a team, the governor and the lieutenant governor.
Oh, okay.
That changed out years ago, and there seems to be momentum to resurrect that.
Oh, okay.
The governor would like to have that anyway.
Absolutely. Because that can be a contentious situation there, can't it?
Yes, it can.
Hey, we are here on WLMA right here in Greenwood. We are talking with House of Representatives Gene Pinson. We're going to be back in just a moment. South Carolina News is in. We're back here at Sharp Fastest Gallery. I have no idea what we're going to be talking about because we've just been off on a tangent talking about the military here just right now. Talking about... you were talking about school choice is coming up this week in the House here. What's that all about, Gene?
Well, the school choice bill that we'll be looking at next week offers tax credits and tax deductions for homeschooling, kids that are in a district and want to transfer to another district, kids in private schools, and it just offers an incentive or some type of help for those kids in those particular arenas. Because it's big business. Now, within the public education system, and there's a lot of confusion in this, right now, magnet schools are big items. Charter schools, and I don't know if you know the definitions of all these things, but we've got magnet schools, we've got charter schools, we've got homeschoolers, we've got virtual schools. There is a myriad of activity going on out there in the educational world. And you got
it's hard to think about, is it, when you think about when you and I went to school, there was only one choice: go to school.
Go to school.
In a public school.
And I can address School District 50, 51, and 52 a little bit better than I can the other school districts of the state. We're now down to 83 school districts. Used to have 86. Some of them have combined, but they all do things differently. We're fortunate we have opportunity for all here in the Greenwood 96 and West Shores area. And if you're in elementary school and that doesn't fit you, you can have the opportunity to move to another elementary school. So we have choice around here, but there are those individuals, and a lot of good friends of mine go to Greenwood Christian School, Palmetto Christian Academy, Eastside Christian. I have a lot of friends in my neighborhood that homeschool, and they're all very devout. And what I can tell you about homeschool, it's hard to be one-on-one instruction, but you've got to be a special person to do that.
Absolutely. So what will this bill do, and where do you think it's going to go?
Well,
you said this is one that's been brought up before.
Well, it has, but the last one that we looked at last year was going to cost the state of South Carolina, and this is based on the Bureau of Economic Advisors, could be a $13 billion price tag over the next 10 years. So when you say, billion over the next 10 years, the one that we're looking at has a $37 million impact in the initial year. And again, you're adding on another program.
But does that create an entitlement?
Well, if you want to call it that, you meet the criteria, you're going to be entitled. You'll be entitled to receive it, and it may have a good shot at passing because it's one of the more watered down pieces of legislation I've seen affecting school choice. And school choice means different things to different people.
Sure, absolutely. So this is something that comes up.
Yeah.
Where do you feel on it?
Historically, I have opposed it because of the price tag. Mm-hmm. This is, and again, this is a little bit better than some of them I've seen in the past.
No, you said it's $37 million.
Dollars
the
per
first
year.
year.
First year.
First year.
And depend on whether it expands or not. You just have to make the adjustments on down the road.
If this passes, though, then it'll be something that will be futuristic too. It's not just a one-year program. It will
be ongoing. Of course, you can revoke the program, and the legislature can get together and say, "We're not going to fund this particular program next year," and that can happen.
Does that happen?
It doesn't happen. I tell you, it's hard to get rid of programs once they're established.
Exactly.
Whatever program it is.
Now, the school bus, since we're on schools, the school bus thing that they've been talking about, privatizing school buses, what do you think about that? Is that a good decision?
I think it's a good decision, and it sounds great to turn all the buses over to the district. But when you turn all these buses over to the school district, you better have money that comes with it. These school districts are going to be lassoed with millions statewide in maintenance needs.
Well, I know one of the things the state lottery helps with the school buses.
Yes, it does.
And I wonder, would that still keep going if it was turned over to individual school districts?
That will keep going.
That
And the privatization of school buses is an issue also. And the school districts will be able to opt out and say, hey, we want to privatize this, or we want to keep on school buses. Good idea, but you get the details. And you got to look at the details of the legislation. You know, when you have a piece of legislation that sounds good on the fascia, then you ask somebody, well, have you read the bill? They'll say, no, but it's a good idea. And I say, well, please read the bill.
What was that Nancy Pelosi said? Let's go ahead and pass the bill and we'll read the details
Well,
later.
I think
That's healthcare, folks.
That's healthcare 101 right there. Let's go on and get it out there, folks, and we'll worry about the details and prices later.
I guess that's called the devil's in the details.
Devil's in the details, that's correct.
So, what do you think coming up is the most important legislation that's going to be coming across the table?
Well, the budget is the big item every year.
Okay.
And that's what keeps everything going.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we've adopted a budget, $5.9 billion. And that's probably what it was about 7 years ago when I was in the legislature, and it has gone down. We have lost an awful lot of state employees along the way, and they've justified this stuff.
Do you think the size of our government is too big down there in Columbia? State government?
You can always say it's too big.
Okay, is it in your opinion?
You know, I've never met anyone that said that they were paying too little taxes. They're always paying excess taxes, which is sort of an Americana thing. Yeah,
well, you know, when you look at the unemployment fees that businesses pay, they certainly have gone up. Yes,
yes, they have.
And every year it shows the salary max going up. Of course, I think it was very low to begin with.
Yeah, well, and we spent an additional $30 million to help offset that loan that we got from the federal government down in the Portland area also. So we're doing what we can to take care of small businesses here.
What do you think about the relationship between the federal government and the state government? You know, the amount of monies that comes in, the strings that are attached. Should states be more independent from the federal government?
The answer is yes.
Okay.
You know, it has always baffled me why we as South Carolinians have to send people to Washington to get our own money that we've sent to Washington back to South Carolina. There's something wrong with that analogy.
There are several different issues. That has to do with, doesn't it have to do with the DOT? That's a big one right there. That's
DOT
a big one.
And healthcare. Billions of healthcare dollars are poured into the state federally. But again, we've become dependent on those. Now,
and that was part of the problem when Governor Haley took over, is that these things were running out. We had monies coming in, and a lot of those monies were not coming back around.
And Sanford just started doing his regime down in Columbia. We started running out of money. And when people don't have jobs, they can't pay taxes.
Sure.
And jobs is key to success in any state. The governor, I think, has done a real good job on job creation. Now, but just because she's created or announced 20,000 jobs,
they're not all going yet.
People have got to get to work. I mean, a job creation doesn't help me one iota if I don't have the opportunity to get that job.
Exactly.
But if it's going to happen in 4 years, that's another thing. But she is doing, and the hiring.
She definitely has put South Carolina on the map. I mean,
she has.
As far as a place that is on the move and is making strides.
Yes.
Now, are we there yet? No.
We'll never get there because we're competing against every state. But get back to your question on the independence of South Carolina. I wish we were not dependent on the federal government for anything.
What do you think about education and the federal government? You know, some of our politicians say they do away with the Department of Education.
I think the federal Department of Education, I've heard so many presidents say they're going to eliminate it, but nothing seems to be.
Once they get there, they don't seem to do these things,
I would like the state of South Carolina to determine its own future in the area of education. I know we're compared against everybody in the universe now.
Do you think we need standards, though, across
the
federal government?
You got to have standards. Otherwise, how are we going to compare ourselves with North Dakota?
Right.
Or California or Korea.
Or how are we going to be able to move?
Or
yes.
India, right. If we think we're all doing good back here in South Carolina, well, how are we compared to so-and-so?
So there does have to be some standardization.
I think the core curriculum has to be standardized, that we'll be able to compare apples and apples.
Absolutely. Well, we are here with State Representative Gene Pinson. We're having an interesting conversation. Hope you're enjoying it. If you've got a question for Gene, give us a call. 229-7984. That's 229-7984. Oh, that's right. We are right back here at Sharp Facets Gallery. We have Gene Pinson here today. We're talking about a lot of different issues. You know, we were just talking about how the Department of Administration may be something that's coming. We've had the Budget and Control Board. What do you think, Gene, about the direction that we're going with things here?
Well, all of these have good and adverse side effects. You know, and like we talked before, we fought the Revolutionary War, we fought the war between states to get rid of a centralized form of government. If you give too much power to one particular individual, then what do you have?
One particular office.
One particular office.
That might be better.
Right. You know, some states, and we talked about the Office of the Adjutant General, we have an elected Adjutant General. We have an elected State Superintendent of Education. We have an elected Comptroller. We have an elected Treasurer. Are these too many elected officials? I don't know, but the power is in the people. And if the people don't like that, they can eliminate it. There's been a big push over the years to appoint the Adjutant General. That has been the big one over and over again. But again, when you look at the data, the South Carolina National Guard ranks #1 in about every category there is to rate National Guard getting by. And these guys are moving and grooving, and they can compete with anybody on active duty.
Yeah, the tough thing, I think, for the National Guard is the fact that it, too, is part-time.
Yes, it is.
And so
it used to be.
Well, it used to be, right.
It used to be.
But you're going to go off on a deployment, then you're probably going to come back, and you may be back here a year or so, and then they're going to call on you again. That makes it real difficult, particularly, I think, for small businesses. Now, businesses of some size that can adjust, that's a different story. And
South Carolina is a patriotic state, don't get me wrong, but it's very difficult for people to hire someone that they know is subject to going to be gone for a year, a month after they hire them. It's very difficult, and that takes a special circumstance for that to happen. But I can tell you, my son is on his 3rd deployment right now. He's been in the National Guard since June of 1996. That is a lot of time away from home.
And they go for long times.
Yes.
I mean, we're not talking about a few weeks.
We're hoping, and again, the rumor mill was out, but it started out they were going to Afghanistan. Now they're going to Kuwait. It was going to be 18 months, and now we're here in a year. So we don't really know. But I just hope and pray all these folks are safe.
Absolutely. You know, I had Barbara Livingston on last week, and we were talking about that very fact. And of course, they're having a lot of job fairs now for veterans and this type of thing coming back. She said she got a call of an employer asked if they could send another National Guard person to take that person's place till the other guy came back.
Yes.
Now that's an interesting idea.
That is. And we've got to find jobs for all these vets that are coming back.
Exactly.
From serving overseas, and if you did serve overseas, serving locally, we got to find jobs for these people, and there's a big push now.
Absolutely.
To do that.
So, but there's a lot of interesting problems, and of course we have the military, whether it's the National Guard or the military, gives these guys and gals such great training.
Yes,
they are certainly an opportunity to hire them, but if they're still in, you've got to wonder, am I going to wake up one day and I'm going to have a hole there?
Well, the unique thing about the military, it teaches you that individual survival skill, how to operate as an individual on your own, as well as how to operate within a team concept.
Sure. From
a team to a platoon to a company to a battalion to a brigade. So there are good lessons learned in the military. It's good training.
And good skills.
Good
skills.
It's wonderful skills.
Great skills.
We've got electronics units and signal units around our area. We're fortunate. And the training time's a year and a half, 2 years on some of these military occupational specialties.
Sure. So those are some of the things out there. Now, what do you see for the economic future of South Carolina? I know there's more money coming in now. Businesses are doing better, more taxes being paid. How do you see, as you look at the budget for this year, and futuristically, what do you see, Jim?
I think the future is bright. We just got to get our share for Greenwood. That's what people of Lawrence, Aiken, the Greenville area, they're getting jobs left and right. And a lot of people from Greenwood are working those jobs. And I'm thankful for any jobs that come to South Carolina or anywhere else. We just got to do a better job of getting our share. And there are a lot of folks working in that direction. But again, we compete with every other county and every community in the state. Our state is competing with every other state in the nation.
Now, what about tax reform? There's a lot of conversation about tax reform, doing away with this exemption, doing away with that exemption. What do you think? That
should be, we've had a number of hearings on it. That should be in the next 2 or 3 weeks hitting the state legislature. Again, the devil's going to be in the details. Everybody wants tax reform, but
don't take away that exemption from me.
Don't take away mine. So all that's going to have to be analyzed, and there are a lot of industries that are dependent on tax exemptions.
You know, one of the things that strikes me is we have people from all different backgrounds serving in the legislature, whether it's in the House or whether it's in the Senate. And things are becoming, I will say, so complicated. It used to be you had $10,000 and you divvied it up and everybody went home.
Yeah.
I mean, in the beginning. Now we have so many different issues. It has to be tough as a representative or as a senator to be on top of all these issues all the time and to be able to make the decisions. We have huge budgets now and huge things that we're dealing with.
Well, in South Carolina, we use a committee system. A bill is introduced and assigned to a committee. From the committee standpoint, it goes to a subcommittee. That's where the real bare bones looking and weighing the pros and cons, the positives and the negatives of a bill takes place. And for instance, when you get some of these healthcare issues, and I'm fortunate, I'm on the Labor, Commerce, and Industry Subcommittee, you hear testimony on a lot of healthcare issues. For instance, one that we've been wrangling with for 2 weeks is telemedicine. Telemedicine, and the definition of how we want to approach telemedicine in South Carolina.
What's that mean?
Well, that means, well, again, you got to look. I've seen 3 or 4 different variations of what we define as telemedicine. We use it here at Self Regional now in certain areas, especially in mental health and the psychiatry.
What is telemedicine?
The telemedicine is when I come in, and you may be a nurse, you may be another medical professional, you may be an LPN, depending on how you want to define it. And you call a psychiatrist, if you deem it a psychological situation, you call a psychiatrist. He pulls you up on a screen or a phone.
Oh, okay.
And they diagnose your conditions. Now, most of the GPs in our area aren't too sold on this aspect, but we do it to a degree now. But are we going to define it as medical professional to medical professional, or nurse to medical professional? Now, that a nurse is not a medical professional.
Sure.
But there are different degrees on how you can look at that. Doing it right out of your home setting. There's a lot of monitoring that goes on now, especially in the cardiac area. I mean, you can get up, I'm in the healthcare field. You know, you put this little bracelet on, it'll tell you everything in the world that you need to know about yourself, and it goes straight to the cardiologist. So it's a lot of it going on now, but there seems to be a fear about opening this thing up to where it's totally unregulated and moving out.
One of my first things would be, how do we know we're dealing with the person we're dealing with?
Well, and again, the way you define telemedicine, it is, am I on the screen looking at you?
Right. Or
are you on the telephone calling me?
Right.
So, and a decision is going to have to be made somewhere along the line, either to pursue this or let's, try this avenue. Oh. So that's just one of the many, but it gets right technical.
Absolutely. But that's what my concern is. Mm-hmm. You know, we have people that maybe they're not up to speed on all these different issues.
Well,
and their background may not be in that issue.
Right. Well, you get that. You've got educators, you've got doctors, you've got lawyers that serve in the state legislature, small business folks, people that are retired from whatever. So it's a hodgepodge. It's 124, and you're just one of 124. So, and most of the committees are made up of people with various backgrounds, so you get a lot of interesting sides to every issue.
I'll bet. Well, listen, we don't have much more time coming up. What would you like to address as we go towards the top of the hour? What is close to your heart?
What's close to my heart is people in House District 13 in the state of South Carolina. And it's been an honor and a privilege, something that I'll never regret, serving the folks. You've given me the opportunity to be elected 26 years in various endeavors. And I have enjoyed every one of them, and I hope I've been able to fulfill. I hope I hadn't brought too much embarrassment on House District 13.
I don't think you brought embarrassment,
or our school board, or our county council.
Well, you know, it's nice for you to be able to, I think, to sit down and reflect back on this, and I think that you will be a source for whoever ends up with that office as someone that you know the ins and outs. And I think, truthfully, we should use our past legislatures more in that role because they do have they understand how things work.
Well, I met with a group from Atlanta University last Thursday afternoon, and these were all nursing students. Their number one issue is not graduating. Their number one issue is not getting A's on everything. Their number one issue is not my boyfriend and getting married. Their number one issue is finding a job when I leave.
Sure.
I addressed a constitutional law class a few months ago. The same thing. It's not graduation. It's not getting married. It's having a job when I get out of school.
Absolutely.
And that's where we got to maintain our focus.
And, you know, I do think Governor Haley is definitely focused on jobs. Every time I talk to her, jobs, jobs, jobs. Every time you see all these things coming out. But I do agree with you. A lot of these things are down the road. They're not today and tomorrow jobs, and we need today and tomorrow jobs.
We certainly do.
Well, Gene Pinson, it is always a pleasure to talk to you. I certainly hope you'll come back and talk to us again, maybe after the budget's done in June.
Can I say one other thing?
Sure.
And this is one of my favorite quotes, too. Public service is not just going down to Columbia, or just serving on city council, or county council, or school board, or public service district. Public service is what you do for your fellow man, and there's plenty of opportunity for everyone to serve.
Absolutely. There certainly is. Gene Pinson, it's been a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, Ann, and I've always appreciated our fellowship and our relationship.
Absolutely. This is WLMA right here in Greenwood. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.